I want you to know that no matter where you are in life, no matter how low you have sunk, no matter how bleak your situation, this is not the end. This is not the end of your story. This is not the final chapter of your life.
The son ate everything, including the paper that was covering the Kentucky. That's how hungry it was.
Hardly 3 weeks, I was told that my son is dead.
Patients had to be tugged, their limbs had to be tied whilst transported.
Nobody knew, even the police themselves.
It was also difficult for myself. It was difficult for the team that was there.
We could not repeat the same mistakes that were made by Gauteng Department of Health.
I think you remember when Jesus Christ was on the cross, and he said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing."
No, I wasn't aware of that.
A cost-cutting exercise gone wrong. Scores of mental patients lose their lives. A needless tragedy that sends shockwaves through the nation.
"118 people died as a result of this project." And this is, remember, on the 1st of February when I released my report, 94 people were counted to die. And at that time, I said I was still counting. And there are reasons why I was still counting. Now, the 118 patients that have died, all died within the control period. That is from the time when I started the investigation on the 1st of October, the previous year, to the 1st of February in 2017.
At least 118 mental patients have died under appalling circumstances, but the situation continues to escalate. By October 2017, the known death toll rises to 141.
If we add the deaths that have happened in various places where the patients are now housed, from February, from 8 months from February till end of September, the 43, we added to the 118 that had happened until the 1st of February. The number becomes 23 plus 118 is 141.
Some health department officials apologize, but the pain of loss is all too evident.
It was a difficult time for me, and on my behalf, I want to apologize to all those who are affected. It was difficult for you. It was also difficult for myself. It was difficult for the team that was there. And I apologize on behalf of myself, on behalf of my colleagues who were in the project team, and on behalf of the Department of Health.
I would like to say that through this process, We've worked closely with the family committee. We've come to understand what this means. And that at this point, personally, I will unreservedly apologize for the failures but that something like this should never happen again.
In May 2016, Gauteng Health MEC Kadani Mahlangu orders the transfer of the patients from Live Healthcare Esidimeni to 27 other non-governmental organizations, a decision that would set events in motion that proved to have devastating consequences.
In one facility, they had Papa's funeral, so we asked for records so that we could verify and identify the families, ensure that we could trace the families and have proper records. So what you see here is the work that we did from the day that there was a family healing process, and we followed up on every case that we could.
No vengas, no vengas.
The helpless patients have been sent to their deaths. Most of the NGOs are unlicensed and staff not properly trained. With an outraged nation demanding answers, the departmental blame game is on.
I don't have an excuse why we had to hurry it the way it is, because my initial thought was that it should be done in phases. But the time frames I negotiated, and those were the time frames I was given, and I did not realize that will be
time frames given to you by whom?
HOD and MEC.
What is the name of the HOD?
Dr. Silebano and Ms. Kadani Mahlangu.
October 2017, and arbitration proceedings begin. This is just months after the Health Ombudsman releases a damning report into the tragedy. Retired Deputy Chief Justice Dikgang Moseneke is at the helm, and he's clearly taking no prisoners.
Its aim is not formalism as might be found in some court proceedings. The agreement is quite clear. We're dealing with death, we're dealing with pain, we're dealing with trauma. And the idea is not to be smart and legalistic as lawyers often want to be. The idea is to get to the truth as efficiently and as timeously as we can.
But what are the actual motives for cancelling the healthcare facilities contract? For 5 decades, Live Healthcare Esidimeni has been caring for mental patients. The facilities are named for the Xhosa word meaning place of dignity. But in a terrible twist of irony, many of those patients would end up suffering undignified deaths. This is after the patient transfers are carried out with total disregard for human rights under the banner of cost savings.
Why was the contract of Live Esidimeni cancelled? We know now that it included Randfontein, Waverley, and Banning.
Yes.
Why was that contract cancelled?
In terms of the termination letter that was sent to Banning, the issue that was raised and was the issue of cost containment, I think, budget constraints, and also the issue of the AG issues in terms of having only renewing one contract with one provider all the time for many years.
The crisis is fueled by gross incompetence and evidence of enforced compliance at the health department.
All I could gather was that this whole thing, although she had given instructions as to what must happen, and I think everybody realized that that's what needed to happen, because I think when you spoke to the subordinates, they said once that was decided, then they just had to implement. They, you know, it was like, what do you call it, the charge of the light brigade?
There were, I think, procedural issues that were, I think maybe the project we did overlook, where people needed to have, especially the new NGOs, needed to have contracts, paper processes where the service level agreement needs to be signed, accounts need, the NGOs needed to have accounts, bank accounts and all those things. Our financial people needed to be up to speed with transferring of funds. We begin to experience that people are dying in the NGOs. It became a crisis kind of approach. So, and because of the tensions that were there, I ended up being on the marginal side.
Did you deal with the deaths in any of your progress reports?
I don't remember us deal. At that time it was a crisis, and I don't think I sat in a meeting where I presented on the death. I did not do that.
The confusion in the health department ranks becomes even more evident.
I interviewed them following each other so that they couldn't exchange information. When I asked them how many patients had died, this is in November, and this thing had been a public outcry. When I asked the HOD how many patients has died, he said to me, 36 or 40. So it's there in my report. Now I'm talking about November, and 82 patients have already died, and he didn't know. Okay, you can forgive him. Maybe he didn't have the knowledge. I then asked the director of the mental health division, how many patients have died? She says 48. I then asked 3 days after that, I asked the MEC, she says, well, 36. Here you have 3 senior people in a department. First of all, they don't know how many patients that they sell or service have died, but they don't even sing from the same song. One says this number, another one says that number. So how could they actually potentially run a service that is credible when they themselves did not know?
So what drives the former Gauteng Health MEC, Qedani Mahlangu, to press on with the transfers, regardless of numerous warnings from role players? The then Health Department head, Dr. Bani Silebano, is also implicated in the decision.
In November and December, there were issues that were raised by stakeholders who were complaining that this issue of shifting patients from Life Esidimeni is going to be problematic. So I think the first meeting that was contentious was with the stakeholders.
Meanwhile, horrific tales of abuse and neglect continue to emerge. Among the shocking findings, mental patients transported on open bakkies to the NGOs.
Yes, I was informed that there were open bakkies, but it was not with my knowledge.
And patients had to be tied?
Patients had to be?
Patients had to be tied. Their limbs had to be tied whilst transported. Do you know about that?
No, I wasn't aware of that.
But it appears
at that time.
It appears in the Ombuds report.
Yes.
Most of the patients would die of starvation and neglect. Many families go for months without even knowing where their relatives are.
I just want to record that Mr. is here and he has raised his hand. And thank you for being here, sir.
And the other one is Miss Collins, I think. The wife of Frederick Collins, who had starved and had lost so much weight that his trousers were being tied with shoelaces. And clearly this was weight loss that was more or less induced by lack of food and starvation.
My son was turning 40 on the 28th of December, Caswell Musiani, which whereby he was staying there at Life Esidimeni for almost 28 years. I didn't have any problem. They even allow us to go and see. We entered to their beds, to their kitchen. We were allowed to see everything. And they were being seen by doctors once or twice a week, wherever we didn't have problem. And whatever happens there, they will inform you. So to my surprise, we were told that the children are being removed there. There was a meeting called, but they didn't listen to us. They said to us, government hasn't got money. I've got a call that now the children are leaving to Takalani. It was on a Thursday. The same week, on a Monday, I got a call from Takalani saying that my child has got epilepsy. I said, what? Ever since he's been there, it's so many years. I didn't know he was epilepsy, but for so many years, nothing happened to him. I've asked them, did you give him his medication? They've said to me, yes. It was on a Thursday. To my surprise, on a Monday again, I've got hardly 3 weeks. I was told that my son is dead. When we go there at Takalani, asking them to show the place where he slept, I wanted to understand whether he fell on the bed or did he just collapse. They said we are not allowed to go to where they were sleeping. That's how it happened. Fine, we went there with my undertaker to go and fetch my son. When we get there at Albert, what they called us hospital, behind Bekim Langen, behind Jabulani Mall. First thing I've asked them, I've said, what did you do to my son? What did you do to my son? Because on the right side, it was something like a mud, a brown mud, closing this side here. And then the other one, they responded, it was the fluids. Fluids of what? I don't know. And then I asked, this is a military, what you have given my son overdose because we are talking about fluids. He said, no, Mama, that one you'll discuss it with Mr. Susoka from Takalani. ever since they knew that my son is dead, I didn't get any response from anybody, whatever. I buried my son with my children alone. Even up to now, no word, nothing whatsoever. There's just silence. Whatever, no clarification, whatever. Instead, they're asking for a death certificate for what I don't know. It came like a shock to me. It was a surprise all of a sudden. But if it comes to a postmortem should be done, I'm prepared. Because you'll always find that at the death certificate, you'll just say natural death.
The death of their loved ones also represents a severe financial setback for the families.
My sister's name is Virginia. She was 50 years old. My sister initially came to live with me in Johannesburg after she got lost at Kimba, because we originally from Kimberley. She got lost for about 3 days. And when we found her, the family was concerned that it might happen again. And you know, the next time we might not be so lucky. So a decision was made with Timagazo Kalanam. So in making that decision, obviously it was also to make sure that I take her to facilities or to hospitals to try and find out what was wrong. I took her to Charlotte Maxeke, where I, obviously requested her to bum check and try and find out what was wrong with her. They kept her for 3 months. In that 3 months, they did all sorts of tests, and they kept calling us in to tell us what they were going to do. Why are they thinking they should be doing that? Because they were not finding what was wrong with her. After 3 months, the doctor then called us in and then said to us, look, this case Virginia is unique in the sense that she has got the Alzheimer's, and usually people her age don't develop with Alzheimer's. So they thought that was unusual. And then basically said that they would recommend that she goes to Esidimeni. So directly from there, she was then placed Esidimeni, and the hospital basically handled the whole process. She moved there. This all happened in 2014. She moved there and obviously stayed there for that duration until until June 30th, according to the SMS that I got, that said she was now being moved on the 30th of June to Cullinan. When we got the SMS that she had been moved to Cullinan, our initial response was to call Cullinan and to, just to establish that she is there. When we called Cullinan, they said she wasn't there. And then they said we must check with the 2 other NGOs within the center. We called. She was not on the one NGO, but she was on Anchor NGO. Was registered to say that they had accepted her, but according to Anchor, they couldn't keep her because it was a male facility. So Bambui sell her to Cullinan. Now the transfer from Cullinan to Precious Angels, I don't know what happened there. And I suppose all they could do was accept what I was telling them. Now with them watching this on TV unfolding, the way it's unfolding, it's now, I suppose, hitting home what possibly transpired. So it's very emotional, it's very sad. And for the Department of Health, I don't have words for the way they handled this matter. It was in such poor taste the way they handled this matter. To them, it was not even cows are handled in this matter, in this way. Not even animals are handled in this manner. They really did not think about the people involved. To them it was, they are shutting down, they have got a deadline, and that is it. They didn't think of the ramification, even though we constantly warn them. We warn them time and time again from every angle, from every organization that was involved in this process. And they used us. They used the people that were representatives of the family as rubber stamps. The MEC continuously says condolences. She says it with the coldest face possible. I don't even think she understands what she's doing. She continuously lies. And she throws it back at the families, as in, we did this, we did. They didn't.
With various role players passing the buck, who will be held to account for the needless deaths?
Even if you've resigned, as an executive authority, you are not subject to provisions of the Public Service Act or any other, because you've resigned. You can't go to Parliament, I guess, to account. So the first that I responded to was that this process in itself should be one such process that helps with that accountability.
The embattled MEC, Gadani Mahlangu, fell on her own sword and resigned the night before the Health Ombudsman released his report.
She doesn't have authority now that she's no longer in that office. But does that mean she no longer has any responsibility, public responsibility, to be accountable for the actions and for her decisions during the time when she was in office?
She remains accountable, I suspect, for decisions and actions during her tenure.
Clearly, the health department is in desperate need of an overhaul.
I would like to appeal to the government, especially to my organization, ANC, that health in Gauteng is a complex organization. It has very responsibilities not only for Gauteng, but for the country. It has tertiary, quaternary services. So any person who needs to be deployed to run that department, either as a head of department, must be a seasoned, experienced health person.
Investigations are on. Punitive charges seem likely. But shouldn't the Esidimeni tragedy just be a case of forgive and forget? Or should those involved be made to pay?
I think they didn't actually realize that there was a crisis. I think you remember when Jesus Christ was on the cross, and he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. I think it was a situation similar to that. They did not seem to have a clue as to what they were doing, whether they were in a crisis or not.